So with the announcement of the Trump route for international peace and prosperity, there's a lot of chatter on what that really means and how it's going to impact the entire region. So I didn't want to wait till Monday. I wanted to get Brandon on and get right to it. What do you see happening, my friend?
Well, we're talking about Ukraine, correct?
Well, we're talking Armenia and Ukraine. Yeah.
Because they're connected here. So
yeah.
It's looking like Trump is getting a deal. He already announced at the White House yesterday with Armenia and Azerbaijan.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like there's some deal being concocted between the United States alliance and the Azerbaijanis in particular. The Armenian government's going along with it. It's to create that Zangezur corridor that we talked about last time I was on. They're basically trying to, it looks like, get a dominant position on this new trade route that's being established to move goods coming out of Eastern Eurasia into the Middle East and Western Eurasia. And the Zangezur corridor is a key element of that because the northern route that normally used to be taken has been really shut down because of the Ukraine war. It goes through Russia, and that's obviously not quite yet repaired. And then the southern corridor route is a maritime one. And obviously the Red Sea, the Houthis in the Red Sea and whatnot have complicated that route. So they're looking to establish this third way. And our Azerbaijan and Armenia are right in the middle of it. And if they can get it done, the belief is that we'll be able to basically cut Iran off from getting transit fees from all those goods passing through Iranian territory. Right now, they pass through Iranian territory. If the new corridor is created, they would cut out Iran entirely. And then also one of the exit points going into the Black Sea was originally supposed to be Odessa in Ukraine, but I don't know how reliable that is because it looks like I think the Russians are going to take Odessa. And so the alternative site is in Romania, which is where the largest NATO base is being built. This is why NATO overthrew the presidential election in Romania last year to make sure that Călin Georgescu didn't win because he was a skeptic of NATO. And then the Turks also are benefiting from this because half of the goods coming through the Zangezur corridor will ultimately exit out at Turkey, giving them a lot of strategic power and influence. One thing to watch out for, though, and it relates to Ukraine. It looks like they're stopping the weapons flows into Ukraine, supposedly, the United States is. And if that's the case, that is probably the first step toward what looks to be very positive negotiations between the U.S. and Russia and Ukraine, which might mean a resetting of relations with Moscow, which, if that's the case, we know that the Americans under Trump want to do more business with Russia on things like rare earth minerals and trade. We could ultimately cut the Russians into the Zangezur corridor, and then that not only isolates Iran, but it also isolates China by reading Russia, giving them a reason not to resist us on this.
That is a really brilliant thing if it happens. Because
if it happens,
yeah, it really, and I talked to some of my Armenian sources this morning, and they said several things. One, they're telling the people in Armenia, Pashinyan gave a big statement that the war's over, America's going to protect us, and the people love Pashinyan, who's a globalist, who also prevented the attorney to come in and stop what's going on with the Ukrainian or the Orthodox Church in Armenia. And that also the Turks and the Azeris were very happy, which is, something to note. But also the Russians said nothing.
Right.
So, or at least they came out with a statement that was like, okay, it may be good. We'll see what happens. So that kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's a key thing to understand because initially, several weeks ago, Putin was threatening to deploy 250,000 Russian troops to their base in Armenia when these first sort of talks were getting underway between Trump and the Azerbaijani government. But clearly, he hasn't done that.
Yeah.
He's moved some troops, but nothing like the numbers he was talking about. And it's obviously because I think he's probably under the impression that he'll get read into this deal, which is a key thing to understand. One of the reasons that Putin went to war over Ukraine was because Ukraine was supposed to be a key conduit for what was at the time the Eurasian Economic Union, which Russia was building, and Ukraine was going to be a key element with the Central Asian states. And it was supposed to be a counterweight to China's Belt and Road Initiative as well as to the EU. People don't remember this because the Ukraine war has skewered everything. But the idea that Putin was always okay with the Chinese basically through trade co-opting much of Eurasia, the Russians were never okay with that. And I think you're seeing now, I think Putin thinks he's going to get a deal with Trump on a lot of things. And I think he might start playing ball.
I think you're right. And you haven't heard much out of Beijing. I mean, it's been I know their economy's very weak right now, and there's a lot of pressure against Xi Jinping internally. Have you heard anything about that?
All I've heard is that there's some kind of internal leadership struggle, possibly. So according to my colleague, Gregory Copley, and Gordon Chang, they both are saying that they think at this fall's National People's Congress, which is the yearly get-together that the top dogs in the Chinese Communist Party have, that basically Xi's going to announce he's stepping down and handing power over to one of these other people that's coming up. I think Wang Yang is the one that's most likely to take over. Wang Yang is part of a triumvirate of leaders, but there's been no confirmation on this. This is a lot of noise in certain elements of the Western press. So I take it with a grain of salt. I do believe that the Chinese economy is, for them, slowing down. I would add, though, it's probably not as going slowly as our economy, so it's all relative. But ultimately, you're right. There is a slowdown there. Also, you're seeing China starting to really make noise, really serious noise about Taiwan in ways they normally don't do. This might be a reaction to what they see as not only internal problems for the party, but how Russia is probably trying to move away from China. The worst thing China could have happen would be if Ukraine war ends. They want that war going on because it forces Russia into the arms of China.
Well, I would say maybe not 100%, but I think they're a big part of it happening in the first place. I think it was intentional, obviously.
They've certainly benefited. Yeah, there's a very real possibility that is the case.
So another thing I noticed, we reported this morning that Iran is now saying that the Zhangjiang corridor will be the graveyard for American mercenaries. Did you see? We posted that out. Obviously, they don't have the capability to do that, but they do have the capability to take hostages and stuff like that.
Yeah, which they very well may try. And we have to remember, Iran remains the mothership of global terrorism. So it's not just Iranian military you have to worry about. It's Iran's, it's their paramilitary and terrorist groups that you have to worry about. That's a real possibility. My read on this, though, is if Trump really can flip the Russians, that's a whole new ball game.
Yeah.
And the Iranians are no longer a factor because really the Iranians, yes, they rely on China for economic support and for some material support, but it's really the Russian military that has supplied and kept the Iranian military going. And obviously the Iranians have also supplied Russia's military with key weapons and whatnot for the Ukraine war. But the point is, if the Russians did step back from supporting Iran because of this new deal and the resetting of relations with Trump, Iran is truly put back into its box. And the question at that point then becomes, what are they going to do vis-a-vis Israel? Are they going to just accept being put back in their box? Or are they going to go all out and try to do something against Israel and American targets throughout the region? And what will Israel do? We don't know these things.
Well, on that note, I was talking to sources in Beirut this morning, and they said that, obviously the Hezbollah supporters are rioting against the government's decision that they said they're going to disarm them. But he said they have no way to disarm them,
Right.
and they're going to continue to build. They still have the secret weapons factories, is what he said. So
the precision guided munitions factories are still there. They're embedded. The really tragic thing here is the Hezbollah and IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guards Corps, as part of the precision project, they built these underground factories to produce things like Octogen, HMX, the fuel for these long range precision munitions, and they built the precision munitions and they're storing them within the Christian villages of Lebanon. And this is purposeful, of course, because they know the Israelis will at some point be forced to strike, and then they want to blame Israel for killing Christians and whatnot. So this is sort of, this is the way things are played out in that part of the world.
Celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7. I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes only $29.88, even the queens and kings. Inventory is extremely limited, so order now.
Your government doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
Yeah, Israel is the wild card. And I noticed, I have another source in Israel who said, they're focused on taking Gaza, but there's a lot of pushback against Netanyahu on this right now. I mean, it's building big time.
Every IDF source or former IDF high-ranking official that I know who lives over here in the States, I haven't met a single one of them who says Netanyahu's making the right call.
Yeah.
They're all very, and remember the IDF culturally, the IDF is actually very conservative in terms of how far it wants to go and do these kind of deep-ranging mission sets. I remember at the Chicago Council on Global Affairs back in 2010 or 2011, there was an IDF retired colonel who came and spoke to the group that I was part of. And he explained how basically the IDF leadership they don't like for instance, settlers, because the settlers force them to expand their defensive perimeter to the point that they think they can't actually uphold that defensive perimeter. Netanyahu's doing that in overdrive now.
Yeah.
He's got them going up into Gaza. He's got them pushed into Syria. He's got the air corridor linking Iran. He occasionally pushes up into Lebanon. So this is, the IDF is very competent, but it's very small. And so trying to do all these multi-fronts, across vast distances, the tyranny of distance is going to hit you at some point, and you're not going to be able to achieve this. And the Israeli military knows this. So there is a lot of pushback from them. There's a lot of issues for Netanyahu with Shin Bet, which is their FBI, investigating him for corruption. He's not in a good spot at all.
Yeah. No, well, it's going to be interesting to watch. Now, to switch gears entirely for the last subject here, unless you have something else. But, I was up in Alaska. I flew for a combat rescue unit, Asian unit that deployed all over, but it was based in Anchorage. And I know a lot about Alaska. There's a lot of places you could have a really secure meeting up there with big airstrips that somebody could fly in and nobody could get to. Any idea where this might happen? Have you heard anything?
I wouldn't be surprised if it's at somewhere like Almendorf or, they might do it in Anchorage because it's the capital. I don't remember where the Biden administration met with the Chinese in Alaska during their first year. I think that was in Anchorage. They might do it there. Alaska, though, is a very poignant selection. It's very important to understand this. The Alaska obviously is a former Russian territory. The head of the Orthodox Church in Moscow has for 10 years talked about reclaiming Alaska for Russia. Right now, I'm of the mind that Russia is not this grand threat that everybody in DC thinks. It's actually China that's the big threat.
Yes.
But the one area where Russia does prove problematic for us is actually in the Arctic. And so the selection of Alaska for this meeting is very, very meaningful. There's a lot of layers to it. It's a brilliant move by the Trump administration. Trump is, like I said to you once, he kind of craps the bed one day, and then the next day he's pulling these rabbits out of his hat. This is one of those moments of brilliance with Mr. Trump. I think that we're going to get a deal not only on Ukraine, but I also think we're going to get a real meaningful reset in U.S.-Russian relations as it relates to Eurasia, as it relates to the Arctic. And I think in the next year or two, you'll start seeing real development deals going forward to develop Russia's rare earth mineral sources so that the United States is not as dependent on China.
It's a huge issue.
It's a huge.
I think Trump is really focused on that too.
I hope that's the case. I think that's the case. The guy's name is, I think Kirill is his name.
Kirill, yeah.
Yeah, Kirill. People forget he's like one of the closest people to Putin, and this guy is loaded. And the reason he's so wealthy is from the rare earth mineral mines in Russia. He flew to D.C. quietly. I think it was in April or May, and he was there for a weekend. And while he was in D.C., he met not only with Rubio, he met with Vance, he met with, I want to say Hegseth, he met with the president as well, supposedly, and people from the White House. And it was all, hush, hush. But what my understanding is the only thing they were talking about really was how do we get joint development deals on Russian rare earth mineral mines and some of the energy sources. So this is it's a brave new world that's being birthed right now before us.
Yeah, it is a play on the Russian history. Most people don't know that there was a Fort Roos in San Francisco. You can go visit it. It's still there. And you have the old believers in the Kenai Peninsula in Russia on the Russian River. I used to fish on the Russian River. I never knew the significance of that.
Oh, yeah.
But, it's amazing. Anyway, Brandon, anything else you want to get out?
Well, I would just say that the United States has got to get itself away from the Middle East, away from Europe, and start focusing like a laser on Western hemispheric defense. We have allowed for our hemisphere, in violation of the Monroe Doctrine, which is a founding doctrine for us, we have allowed far too many rivals to claim what is basically our part of the world. And now it's a direct threat to us, particularly Venezuela. Venezuela is the conduit for these regimes, Russia, China, Iran, North Korea coming in here. In my opinion, I'm not a fan of regime change, but if we are going to use military power to change any regime, it should only be one regime, and that's the Venezuelan regime.
Interesting. Brandon, thank you much. And look forward to your new show on America Out Loud. Is that right?
Yeah. It's I'm going to be hosting the Wednesday 10 a.m. slot of the National Security Hour on America Out Loud News, and we're syndicated with iHeartRadio, so you'll be hearing me on iHeart as well.
Excellent, man. Take care.
Thank you.
We'll see you. Bye.
Bye-bye.